there I'm going to show you everything that you need is for tools to be a manga, comic book artist, graphic novelist, or just wanting to draw or sketch or anything like that. Well, of course you're going to need pencils, and that's pretty much up to you. I suggest when you start out, use from a B to an H. Get a B, H, B, F, H. Those are the basics for straight, going, and anything darker, I suggest probably going up to is a B2 to a B4. B2, B3, B4. Alright, and for the light, H2. Alright. Okay, now for markers, you want to use is add markers for your big areas, okay? Such as for tones and stuff like that. It's cheap, it's about $1 each marker. It's cheaper to get a set if you can find them, but I suggest getting individually. Another good thing is one of my favorites, Prismacolor markers. They're expensive, but well worth it. No bleeding or anything like that. And definitely use add markers for colorist blenders. They're cheap and very good. Of course, we all know is the Copics brand. They're about $5.50 to around $6 each marker, no matter what type it is, except for the fine point pens, which usually cost about $3 to $4. Some of them I've seen like about $5 each. Not worth it, but the big markers are worth it for basically for fine detail areas. And get the sketch ones because, well, oops, wrong side. Has a brush end. Brushes are good for having that brush look, like it's been painted, although you're using marker. Easy way, cheap way of using them, well, you buy the set or buy the markers you want, and then getting the refillable cartridges, which costs you about the same, but you have more fluid, so you can reuse your markers. For coloring, I suggest on the cheap end using the Pico. They're very good, inexpensive, about $1 each. And if you're want to use color pencils, cheap way is actually, you're gonna think this is weird, is Crayola. They're very good, but limited on colors. So you probably want to go with is color pencils like these. Well, I like using is Prismacolors. They're very nice. Get kind of expensive, but they're worth it. Erasers, plastic white rubber erasers. This happens to be a plastic eraser by Mono. Well, actually, Tombow, but it's a Mono eraser. Very nice. I use is a 0.5, 0.5, This is, fine points for drawing in pencil. I happen to like is using the blue lead, but you can get lead of all different thicknesses, types, and they're very affordable. Alright, always start off with your work using is a pounce bag, which has eraser in it. This meant that you pounce it onto your paper before you start drawing, so you don't smudge your lines. Papers, I suggest getting the letter papers. These happen to be is A4 size, and this on a heavier stock of the letter paper is my B4, which I use for my finished works. For always draw bigger because, well, it's easier to see and also easier to edit when it's much bigger. Alright, for your fine point lining, I suggest getting as a Pilot Precision V5. This happens to be a nib, so be careful, they can break. Alright, storing your markers and pens and stuff like that, store them on the side. Why? so the ink doesn't flow either way, doesn't clog or break. Okay, if you store it like this, with the nib up, the point up, the ink will flow to the bottom, alright? And it becomes harder to use your pens right out. Okay, if you store it like this, the ink flows into the cap and you have this mess. Your markers, it's always best, like I said, to store them on the side, never either end, because a lot of times your fluid will run to the point at the other end. So if you have one end down, one end up, one's down, fluid will more likely be in that area. So it's always best to store it flat.